12 beaked whales tragically stranded off the coast of Greece in 1996. 17 different cetaceans representing 4 species beached on numerous Bahamas islands in March 2000. 3 Cuvier beaked whales stranded on the shore of Portugal and 1 found dead in the water in May 2000. 1 beaked whale and 1 humpback whale were found stranded on a beach in Puerto Rico in April 2002. 14 beaked whales stranded on the coast of the Canary Islands in September 2002. A pod of 200 melon-headed whales in a panic rushed to shallow water off the coast of Hawaii in July 2004. What do all of these events have in common? They all coincided with naval sonar training exercises.
We saw a destroyer on the horizon coming toward Harold Strait. And actually, before we even saw it, we heard it. And then we saw the local J-pod killer whales crowded up against the shore and also moving north away from the vessel.
During World War II, the development and use of sonar became vital to U.S. national security. With technological advances of the last 70 years, submarines have become both more lethal and more difficult to detect. At the same time, sonar has become more sophisticated in order to try to keep pace. However, evidence has shown that Navy sonar is detrimental to whales and other marine mammals. Numerous debates and legal battles have ensued, highlighting the conflicting priorities of the Navy and environmentalists, resulting in a variety of compromises between the competing interests of the two groups. The scales have tipped in favor of the Navy since the tragic events of September 11, 2001, because the U.S. government has drastically changed its approach to how it handles important environmental concerns in relation to national defense issues. Congress passed the Endangered Species Act in 1973, which gave protections to threatened and endangered species and their critical habitat. Congress saw the benefit of protecting biodiversity on land and in the oceans. Marine mammals received special safeguarding under the Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972. The primary objective of the Marine Mammal Protection Act must be to maintain the health and stability of the marine ecosystem and to insist that the management of animal populations be carried out with the interests of the animals as the prime consideration. The Marine Mammal Protection Act disallowed the taking of marine mammals in U.S. waters, defining take to mean to hunt, harass, capture, or kill any marine mammal or attempt to do so. Harassment in the law was defined as any act of pursuit, torment, or annoyance that has the potential to injure a marine mammal, has the potential to disturb a marine mammal by causing disruption of behavioral patterns, including migration, breathing, nursing, breeding, feeding, or sheltering. Actions following the 9/11 terrorist attacks included many negative impacts to environmental laws. Many environmental laws were weakened by amendments which compromised the overall original intent to protect biodiversity. In 2004, the Defense Authorization Act was passed, which included more ways to limit power of prior environmental laws. The Defense Authorization Act more severely compromised the Marine Mammal Protection Act. First, the definition of harass was changed to mean any action which is likely to disturb a marine mammal to the extent that the animal's natural behavior would be abandoned or severely altered. Additionally, the amendments allow for the Secretary of Defense to exempt actions of the Department of Defense from compliance with the requirements of the Marine Mammal Act for matters of national defense. Sides of the conflict of the Defense Authorization Act were argued for before the final decision to launch it was made. Representative Duncan Hunter defended the bill, stating,
respect to allowing our submariners to utilize their best of their sonar devices that will keep them alive when they are in the littorals, in shallow water areas around the world where they're going to be faced with very quiet diesel submarines, which are now being proliferated in certain adversaries' navies. We say that whereas before the standard was that if a marine mammal was, maybe a sea lion, was potentially disturbed, that military training couldn't take place in his neighborhood. Now we say he has to actually be significantly disturbed.
Whales rely on sound and hearing like humans rely on sight. It is used to find mates, bond with calves, detect predators and prey, navigation, communication, and many other everyday tasks. Since the 1970s, oceans have become more and more noise polluted because of human activity. These activities include commercial shipping, seismic activity, and Navy sonar. Sonar, which stands for Sound Navigation and Ranging, appears to be the most detrimental to marine mammals. The Navy provides a good case for why the use of sonar is necessary. According to the United States Navy, at least 300 modern diesel-electric submarines are possessed by potential adversaries of the United States, which can operate almost silently, and they must continue to develop ways to detect these threats. The Navy has now developed 3 types of sonar: mid-frequency active sonar, or MFAS, low-frequency active sonar, or LFAS, and surveillance towed array sensor system, or SIRTOS LFA. MFAS was the first type of sonar to be used and has been in use since World War II. In the United States Navy, there are over 300 ships equipped with MFAS. MFAS is considered to be vital to U.S. national security because it is the only type of sonar that can reliably detect diesel-electric submarines. MFAS uses frequencies from 1 to 10 kHz and is able to detect objects up to 10 miles away. LFAS uses frequencies below 1 kHz, so it's less susceptible to intensities fading over long distances, so it can detect objects over 100 miles away. As of 2010, only 2 ships were equipped with LFAS. SIRTOS LFA is a variation of LFAS that sends out intense pulses in a full 365 degrees from the ship, which can travel hundreds of miles. Sonar pings can reach up to 235 decibels, and because sound can travel so well through the water, these volume levels can still be around 140 decibels 300 miles from the source. Marine mammals have shown behavior changes at volume levels as low as 78 decibels. Behavior changes observed in marine mammals associated with sonar include ceasing echolocation, ceasing to eat, to the surface, coming close to shore, and strandings. Physical changes that have been documented in marine mammals in association with sonar include ruptured eardrums, hemorrhaging around the ears, eyes, and brain, and large gas bubbles in various organs. Additionally, the Navy says it uses sonar for nearly 50,000 hours per year, putting these animals at enormous risk. This documented incident occurred in the Bahamas in the year 2000, when 16 beaked whales stranded along 15 miles of shoreline during a Navy exercise, which was witnessed and studied by 2 marine biologists in the area, Ken Balcom and Diane Claridge. A few different species of beaked whales and some dolphins beached themselves. Ken Balcom was able to reach the corpses in time to cut off their heads and send them to specialist Darlene Ketton at Woods Hole. She discovered severely punctured eardrums and bleeding around the ears, eyes, and brains of these animals. These findings were consistent with acoustic trauma. The Navy was forced to admit that they had been conducting sonar training exercises in the vicinity, which likely led to the death of these whales. In 2009, during the Winter versus the National Resources Defense Council court case, the Navy was sued by multiple environmental groups fighting against the use of sonar off the coast of Southern California. The site chosen for sonar training was known to be the home to many marine species. The environmentalists sued because the Navy admitted that this training had the potential to do varying levels of harm to 170,000 marine mammals, a violation of the Endangered Species Act. The Navy argued that the site was important for national security. The environmental groups won in the lower court, provided that 6 compromises aimed to mitigate harm to marine mammals were implemented. The Navy accepted 4 minor compromises, but decided the 2 significant ones were impossible to live up to. They were shutting down sonar when a marine mammal is sighted within 2,200 yards of a Navy vessel, and powering down sonar by 75% when certain conditions are observed in which sound travels further. The Navy appealed the decision all the way to the Supreme Court. However, during the appeals process, President George W. Bush exempted the training exercises from the provisions of the Endangered Species Act. The Supreme Court eventually ruled in favor of the Navy, and training exercises continued without the formally agreed-upon compromises. Both sides continue to debate these conflicting priorities to this day.